I have to admit something. My memory is pretty shaky, and I don't have a great recollection of my childhood. While growing up, I depended on a trick to help me remember things such as what happened and what order they happened in. And that was movies. My mom used to say, remember when you were 12 and you got food poisoning from that restaurant? And I was like, 12? And she would say, remember we went to go see Indiana Jones 3, then what did we do? And I was like, oh yeah, that restaurant, I remember. So I relied on movies to remember things. So let me explain why I'm bringing this up. While growing up, my mother always took me to movies, even without captions. Even as a young child, I was fascinated by movies. I wasn't ever bored in the theater. The cameras, the lighting, the framing. The camera was always moving and zooming in and out of characters while they spoke. And it was just amazing to me. Pictures without words or dialogue, just separate pictures coming together to tell a story. It was truly powerful. There is one movie that has stuck in my mind all these years later, and it still stands out. So how many of you have seen E.T.? All of you? Yeah. So this was probably my first movie ever I saw in theaters. I remember being little, sitting in the theater with my mom, very excited. We watched the entire film, and I was in tears at the end. And I couldn't sleep that night, and I remember my mother trying to comfort me. But E.T. was gone, and I was so upset. But there was one part that stood out. Do you remember the opening of the film? It's nighttime in the woods, and the UFO flashes, the lights on the trees below as it lands. And then a creature runs out of the UFO, and the trees move as the creature runs through the woods. And then the camera turns to some cars and a truck arriving on the scene. One of the cars stops and the door opens and you see a pair of shoes. And they come out and they go onto the ground. The camera stays on the man's feet, and then it pans up to a set of keys with a keychain hanging off the man's belt. And they don't show the man's face. And the camera is focused on the keys. Who was this man? Why was he there? We didn't know. All I know that he was chasing the alien who eventually escaped into the city. fast forward to the end of the movie with a famous bicycle scene when E.T.'s dying of disease and they find him and they bring him back home and they put him in the bathroom and hide him there until he dies. And the boy's crying over his body. And the camera cuts back outside where the police, the government, NASA officials start arriving. And then that truck pulls up again, and the door opens and the same feet come out again. The camera pans up to those keys. And we still don't know his job or what he looks like, but that detail of that keychain, it matches the one from the beginning of the movie. And you know that that man is bad, and he's ready to take E.T. away. And after I saw that and I made that connection, I wanted to make movies from that point on.